What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? And special guests, so you guys get a treat, back-to-back special guests. We have Michael Ware. What's going on, Mike?
Greetings and salutations.
What is going on? So we had you on last year, so May 4th, 2022. So you're a returning guest. That time you were only on for the interview. So this time we have you on all week. So great to have you back. A little inside baseball. So I've known Michael Ware for a long time now. He used to be my boss way back in the day. So just like when we had Chelsea Pierre on, you're seeing 3 Air Force vets right here. So it's very salty in this room, very cranky. So Michael Ware is the Chief Information Officer for North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show. And without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So his first article, excuse me, is from the Hacker News. And we got our buddy Ravi is back, Ravi Lakshmanan. And the title of this one is North Korea's Kimsuky Group Mimics Key Figures in Targeted Cyber Attacks. So we've kind of seen this stuff happen before, right? Where people are pretending to be, or organizations are pretending to be people of importance, you know, to try to get some type of information. And this is what North Korea is doing here, right? So they're going out there pretending like they're other people, you know, not spamming, but impersonating, you know, legitimate domains and things of this nature. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to leverage information, right? So they want to see what everybody has on them. So when they come out and they say, hey, I'm this government person, or I'm this person, or whatever, like we've seen it where we see companies get fooled when it comes to like invoices and things of that nature, right? Like somebody just pretending they're from someone they're already dealing with or somebody of importance, and all of a sudden they're giving it all away, right? Like that's what we're seeing North Korea doing right now. And this is one of those things that's becoming more popular. Like North Korea is not the only only country that's done this. Like Russia has done it before. I want to say China has done this before in the past, but yeah, but they're just spoofing identities of people to try to get information, because this is kind of what they do, right? They want to know what everybody has on them, because, you know, North Korea is over there kind of in the dark, right? Like they're not letting too much come in to their population, but they don't know so much anymore like they used to, right? So even some of their, not to get into the political side of it, but even some of their, I guess you would call them allies, which are very few, are kind of starting to distance a little bit from them as well. You know what I mean? China's not as hot on them, you know, as they used to be. Like North Korea is kind of like, to use it as an analogy, they're kind of like the person that gets brought to the party by somebody that's annoying everybody at the party, and all of a sudden the person that brought them is like, hey man, chill out. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how they are now. China's kind of doing that with them a little bit. But yeah, this is what they're out there doing, is they're spoofing different people, and then what ends up happening is they'll end up sending you some type of document or something like that, and they have you enable the macros for it, and all of a sudden, boom, they got you, right? They're in your system. They're taking information. They're having it to where emails that are being sent to you are being silently forwarded somewhere else, so they can get different things that they need. So they're out there trying to make it all happen for themselves, right? Because again, they're getting cut off from the rest of the world. That's not what they want, right? They want to be able to do things for themselves, and this is how they go about doing it, pretending there's somebody of importance, or somebody that's a player in the game of national, not to say national, world politics, you know what I mean, to try to get information. But this is the world we live in now, right? You're going to see a lot of spoofing, you know, people impersonating people that they are trying to find somebody that'll give them something that they need. But Mike, what's your thoughts on this?
So quite a bit. So when I read this article, there were 2 pieces that I saw from the perspective. One was the spoofing. So they're going out there and pretending they're somebody to get information. And the other piece was the spear phishing, but they're still using that kind of spoofing method to get it. So they're pretending to be someone important that you want to share with, right? So the spear phishing is difficult because it's, you know, there's more targeting. And with, you know, say ChatGPT, you have the different AIs, you have a whole bunch of issues with false LinkedIn profiles. So even if you do check on it, you know, you may be led to something that's a complete character. And what better way to get information from somebody than to ask them to talk about their favorite subjects with themselves, right? Say, hey, I want you to come on an interview. Like, I clicked on the link that Ryan sent me. I didn't check on it, you know, but this is what North Korea could do, is say, hey, we want to do this interview. Click on this link, and then boom. Now they they feel it's trusted. So this is going to be much more difficult to deal with in the future. I do bring up ChatGPT or generative AI because these things are going to get so much harder to detect. You're going to start those grammar mistakes are going to start going away. And with North Korea doing the spoofing thing, now you've got a targeted effort. So it's not just like some script kiddie throwing out a 1,000 hits, hoping anyone will get it. This is well thought out, creating a persona, and then going after academia and media. I think this is going to be much harder to solve, and much more problematic in the future. With our employees, we have a problem with them clicking anyway. And at the beginning, when you were talking about, Shannon, the spoofing on the invoices, that is getting so much better. Because we deal with a lot of counties, and we've had several times where a spoofed account from a county comes in with an invoice, and we're expecting it. We're expecting an invoice, but it's like, oh, we don't normally get it this way, but I guess you change your system, click, and they're done. So yeah, I think this is gonna be a problem.
No, that's interesting. I did not think about how easy it's going to be. I actually was coming from the perspective how I hate to say it. I say this and then I feel some kind of way about it, but I'm actually impressed, because they consider them the hermit country, right? Like, they don't have an outside presence. They don't know, like we believe they don't know much about the outside world, but to do something so in my opinion sophisticated, they have to have people who understand what the real world looks like, right, outside of North Korea. Because I used to talk to people who were stationed in South Korea, and they would say they would run into what they believe to be imposters or spies, and you can tell because they just looked out of date. Like, they look like they were out of the 80s. And you're like, wait a minute, like, your hair doesn't really make sense right now. Your clothing doesn't make sense. Physically, they just look different. Like, I guess North Koreans are a little bit shorter, or sometimes a lot shorter than South Koreans, because of nutrition and things of that nature. Like, they just, even though they're the same country, they're starting to have that separation or distance between them because of just one is very westernized and the other one is not, obviously, due to sanctions and just the posture of their country, right? The regime there not feeding them properly. But you make a good point that, yeah, they'll have tools that will aid them, right? Like, they'll have the ChatGPTs or whatever comes in the future, bards and things of that nature, to alleviate some of that, those issues they would have when it came to just vocabulary and just, it reminds me of the Steve Buscemi meme, where he's pretending like he's in high school. He has the hat on, he's carrying a skateboard. He goes, hello, fellow high schoolers or whatever. That's what I think of when I think of North Korea. But yeah, if they have tools that can help them bridge the gap, that's even scarier, right? That's your North Koreas and your Chinas and your Russias able to not miss a beat at all, because they're already plugged in, which is kind of crazy to me. And then you brought up another good point about the clicking links. Yeah. So I've received a few people like, hey, I'd like to be on the show. I do not click links because obviously the posture of the show, but also I've seen a couple really good ones come from Apple. It almost got me. Or I'm asking my wife, like, hey, did you get this? And she's like, no. First off, it doesn't have your name. Second off, isn't this your job? That's why I asked you. I wanted to make sure I didn't have to pay something. But I have people send me links sometimes. I'm like, nah, I got to look you up first. And then even that can be, like, just because you have a LinkedIn profile with 500 connections doesn't mean you're a real person. It just means you're really good at connecting with people. You know what I mean? Like, so I have to kind of go through the motions, kind of like make sure that I take whatever OSINT I can find and kind of figure out, like, are you a real person? can I pursue this? And then I'll meet with them before having the show, just in case they're crazy, because you never know, right? You might be a real person, but you might be a little off. So I got to make sure you're not gonna come on the show and waste our time, because we can't push it out, because you're talking about nonsense. But no, all interesting points. So we'll see what comes of it. Like again, I hate to give credit to North Korea for doing nefarious things, but I'm actually pretty impressed that they're able to hook people, being that they're behind, so to speak. Yeah, what you got, Shannon?
So before you wrap it up though, so like, here's the silver lining in this for me though, right? Like I hate to say that too, right? Is that this is only going to make for another technology to be able to combat this. You know what I mean? As we start seeing more and more of this, like, we're going to get better at detecting it, but the cycle is going to be vicious, right? Because then they got to come up with something else, right?
Right.
To defeat
It's the
that.
cat and
And
mouse.
it just keeps going around like that. But the hope is, there will be something else that comes up, it could be, and especially the way technology moves nowadays, it moves so fast. Like, we may see it a year from now, you know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, I can tell you this is Chat GPT. I can tell you this is coming from North Korea. I can tell you this coming from China, Russia, whatever it may be, however the technology works. That's the silver lining in all of this. But we have to deal through these bumps first, right? Where we have to get got a few times before we get to that,
Yeah. To your point, Shannon, when we talk to the university systems in North Carolina, you can use Chat GPT. You got to be careful with it to detect if it's created itself.
Detect its own. I wrote this.
But there's some other tools that are coming out specifically to say, hey, did a generative AI create this? But yeah, it's going to be vicious.
So something more open source, I guess, because like ChatGPT is good at seeing ChatGPT, but maybe it can't detect Bard, or another.
I don't, I didn't look that deep into it. I started looking into, can you use ChatGPT to detect ChatGPT? Right. There was some articles that said it was about 80%. Very, that's not very dependent on how you phrase it in the script. You got to use certain words.
Okay.
But then OpenAI came out with a tool specifically to detect ChatGPT, and they said it was 90% effective.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's very accurate, actually. That's better than most plagiarism systems, because how you just submit your papers to detect how much plagiarism is in it. I think that those are they're somewhat effective, right? They're like, okay, like 30% of this is something I found out there, but no, that's pretty cool, because I know they're doing the same thing for deepfakes, right? Like, they could do something with the eyes. They couldn't get eyes right, like, aside from fingers and other weirdness, they couldn't get eyes completely right. So it was like, no, it's a fake person. It's not really Morgan Freeman saying those things. But no, definitely very interesting. Please stay tuned, those who are listening. I always forget, like, share, subscribe. I have to keep saying that, like, share, subscribe, right? Like, we're definitely gathering some steam. I've seen a lot of good metrics coming from our new platform, where we're a Heroes Media Group. And it looks like there's more people who listen than I perceived. And then Singapore this time, like, the stats are getting better. Most of them are here in the States. So definitely continue to share the podcast, listen to it, and listen all week, because we'll have Michael Ware on for the entire week. So Monday, Tuesday are topics. Wednesday, we'll have a very, very good discussion. I definitely want to definitely tell you guys to tune in for that one. And then Friday is everything else, right? So we've seen movies, we played games. It'll be a really good time. Hit up all of the websites that go by our name. You can find me personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Clubhouse. And you, Mike, where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter. Twitter is Mike Ware 45, and LinkedIn is Michael Ware.
There it is. So definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. Stay safe, stay secure.